So here I am in Blender 3.4.0 alpha, where it's currently unstable and it's crashing every time I attempt to draw a box cut. So I just reopen it and I attempt to draw it again. However, because of the way that it's crashing, I'm not going to receive an error message to be able to report this as a bug. All I could say is it's crashing. So let me show you a way to get a little bit more information in that. Let's hold down the Windows button and press R, and in this run window I'm going to type in CMD. And in this CMD window, we are just going to drag and drop Blender on top of it, which will give us the path of Blender. And we will just press enter and pop Blender back open. And now whenever we crash Blender, we see that we actually receive information in this crash report. So I can just copy this with left click and drag and then press enter, and that will copy it. And if I paste it in and press enter, we see that it actually brings us up this crash report. So this is something that's a little bit more useful to send. Of course, whenever it comes to giving us useful information, it's not going to give it to us, but normally that information would be at the very bottom of this. So let's see if we can get it to give us a little bit more information. Here I've actually opened it from the Blender launcher, so I'm going to close that. I made a mistake. I'm going to go back to the terminal window or the CMD, and I'll press up to type in the last command, and we'll just press enter to relaunch Blender. And just to make sure that we're getting all the errors that are possible, I'm going to go to the Boxcutter tab, and we're going to enable debug mode, save our prefs, which we're just in Blender 3.4. Because we didn't link it, we're not saving 3.4 prefs over our 3.3 prefs where things are working. That's how you actually mess up your version of Blender that you're messing with. But let's change this over to a different shape like circle, and we see that it crashes once again. I'm going to just copy this and press enter, and we open this up, go down to the bottom, and there is no information. So on this particular issue that's happening with Blender 3.4, it's not giving us the information that we need. However, in the terminal window, it is telling us a little bit about why it's having problems. So this is something that you are able to send us that's able to be useful. But whenever it comes to Blender crashing, it can be a little hard to get that terminal output. So just to show it one more time, we can press the Windows button in R and bring up the CMD by typing it in the run window, and just by dragging and dropping blender.exe, it will fill in the path, and then just by pressing enter, we load up Blender and we have a command window on underneath. It's the same as if we were to run a if we were to run a system console, but in our case we're actually running a system console that's persistent even when Blender is not. So when we draw this, we see that Blender has crashed, we see that our system console has crashed, but our CMD that belongs to Windows is still there. So this is information that's able to be sent. We'll just press Windows, Shift, and S to draw a screenshot around this. And this is something that you can Control-V paste into your email to send to us, or on Discord, or on Facebook, or however you choose to correspond with us when it comes to reporting issues. Sometimes whenever it comes to reporting issues to us and getting help, it's important to basically give us your console output. And we see on the Mac side that we don't have an option to display the console. So whenever it comes to getting console output, that's where you would want to go into your applications folder where you have Blender already installed. And if we were to right click it and show package contents, you can go under package contents, and there is this Mac OS folder. And then from here we see this Unix executable file. If we double click this, we see that a terminal is open and then Blender is open. So in the background is this terminal. And so if I were to just click and drag and create a cut, we know based on experience that that's going to say something in the terminal. So here we see it saying executed. Right now at this time also using spacebar in Blender. Sometimes we'll throw a bit of an error with the terminal just because of certain changes that are happening with the conventions of Blender itself. But whenever it comes to accessing your terminal, just know that there are ways that you're able to do it on the Mac, even though it's a little bit trickier. Also keep in mind that if you close the terminal, you also terminate Blender. So generally opening Blender, you will not have a terminal window. but just letting you know that inside of your Mac OS folder, there is the ability to open it with a terminal. So just to recap, we will right-click Blender, show package contents, go under contents, Mac OS, and just double-click Blender, and that will run it normally. Macs are kind of interesting in that regard, since there's a application itself that contains everything that you're able to just double-click like so and open, and that just gives you a general experience. But now I'm just musing about Macs, and I'm out of here.